Hello everyone and welcome to our lesson. Today's lesson is on simple interest. And so we'll just start off with the simple interest formula. It says I equals PRT. And the I stands for what we call interest. And this is money that is made just by lending somebody else money. Now you can also think about interest in terms of the lender or the person who's getting the loan. So the lender is going to be earning interest and the person borrowing is going to be paying interest. Now, the amount that is lent or borrowed is called the principal, and that's going to be our P. The rate is going to be a percentage rate. The time is the T there. And we're going to come across a capital A, and this is going to be a total amount. And what that is the principal plus the interest. So to find the amount of interest, we take the principal times the rate times the time. Now, very important that rate and time must be expressed in the same units. And usually the time and the rate are going to be per year. Okay, so the rate's always given per year, so you're going to have to translate time into the number of years. So it's the rate per year, so T we're going to have to be into years as well. Now we're going to be dealing mostly with ordinary interest. And when we deal with ordinary interest, we say that 1 month equals 30 days and that 1 year equals 360 days. So this is what we're going to use when we calculate simple interest problems. So the first example says find the simple interest and assume that the rate is annual unless stated otherwise. That's what I was saying before up here. So we want to find the simple interest. We're going to look for the I in this equation. So we write I equals, well, the principal, and we're going to put 420, and I just put it in parentheses to separate them out. Now the rate is 9%, but when we do this calculation, very important that we change this into a decimal. So remember, we divide by 100 here, or move the decimal place 2 to the left. And here we're given our time in years. It says 1 year. So that means we can just put a 1 right there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and do this calculation. And I'm just going to use the parentheses just like we've written right here. So parentheses 420. Close your parentheses, and when you open up a new parentheses, it's going to tell the calculator to multiply. So 0.09, close the parentheses, open the parentheses, and I'm going to put a 1 in there. Now technically you don't even have to put the 1 because we know it doesn't change our answer. And let's go ahead enter here, and we get 37.8. Okay, now what that $37.8 is our interest. So we're going to rewrite this as a dollar amount, $37.80. So that would be the amount of interest earned on $420 at 9% over the time of 1 year. Now in question 2, we want to find the interest again. So we do I equals PRT, so the principal is 365.45. Our rate is 11.5, so remember we're going to move this 2 to the left, so we actually type in 0.115. Now here, our time is in months, and we need to make sure that we change this into years. And in order to do that, we have to say, well, how many months are there in a year? Well, there's 12. And so we're just going to multiply by 8 divided by 12 here. So 8 months out of the 12 in a year is 8/12. So we have 365.45 times 0.115 times 8 divided by 12. Okay, now as you look at what I typed into the calculator here, now this time I didn't use parentheses. And we have this fraction here, but because this calculator does direct algebraic logic and this is all multiplication or division, it doesn't really matter. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And you see we get 28.01. We do want to round this to the nearest penny since we're talking about interest. And so to round this, we're going to look at the hundredths place and look next door. And here I see a 7. So that's going to go up. And this is actually 28.02. Alright, so let's go ahead and set this one up together. So we were looking for interest, and the principal is 4372.80. We'll put that in parentheses. The rate is 0.0525. So again, just move this 2 to the left, and we do get 0.0525. And now we have 60 days. So we say, well, how many days are there in a year? Well, there's 360. And so we want to do this division, 60 divided by 360. Now I know there are actually 365 days in a year, but again, remember for ordinary interest, we are going to use 360 days equals 1 year. So we do 60 over 360. Okay, so let's pull up our calculator again. I'll use parentheses this time. 4372.8. Notice I don't even have to put the the 0 here because it's at the end. So that one doesn't matter. But this next one, this 0 does matter because it's in front. So 0.0525. And then parentheses again. And now I'll do 60 over 360. So 60 divided by 360. And here, 38.262, and the 2 does not round up, so this is actually $38.26. All right, I want you to try number 4 on your own. Go ahead and write out your equation and come up with your answer, and we'll check these together in class. Now we can also use the simple interest formula to find some missing values. So in this case, we know our principal is 8,000, our rate is 6%, we don't know the time, but we know the interest earned was $64. Okay, so we're basically going to substitute in all these parts here. So the I was $64, and that's going to equal the principal of 8,000 times the rate of 0.06 times the time, which in this case we don't know. So that's what we're going to look for. So we just have to use a little bit of algebra here, and so because this is all multiplied, we're actually just going to divide this on both sides. So we have 8,000 times 0.06. We want to divide this on the left side here. Okay, so here we have to make sure we do the calculator work right. So we got our 64 and divided by. Now we have the luxury when we draw a nice big fraction bar that we know all of this is underneath it in the denominator multiplied. The calculator, however, doesn't know or doesn't think about this as a fraction bar. It thinks about it as division. And so what we have to do is we actually have to add parentheses here. Okay, so you might want to make a note that you want to put parentheses around all of this. Okay, so I actually have 2 parentheses, and now I have 8,000 times 0.06. and then I'm going to close off my parentheses. So if we're looking at this, we have 1, 2 open parentheses, okay, and then that one closes off one of them. This one opens one, it closes it off, and then it closes it off. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit enter there, and you should get 0.13333. Okay. So we're going to just put 0.13 repeating, and this is going to be in years. If you wanted to put this into days, you would just times by 360. If you wanted to put this into months, you would just go times 12. So let's see if any of these make sense. We'll put it into days here. So let's go times 360. And we can see that this is actually 48 days. So as we look at this formula, basically, we can think about I equals PRT. If we want to solve for t, we know it's going to be I divided by the other two values multiplied. So I divided by PR. So let's just say we were looking for P. Well, it's going to be I divided by the other two variables, R times T. And if we're looking for R, it's going to be I divided by the other two variables, PT. So in example 6, we're looking for the principal. So we could actually go straight to this and go the principal equals the interest, $9.50, divided by the rate times the time. So 0.10 times the time of 4 months, which will change to 4 over 12. Okay, and just to be sure, we do want to put an extra set of parentheses around the denominator here. Okay, so let's give this a try. We would do 9.5 divided by, here's our extra set of parentheses, and then here is 0.10, we'll close that, and then we need to do 4 divided by 12, and then we'll close off the denominator, hit enter, and we get 285. Now, what are we talking about here? We were looking for principal in dollars, so our principal was actually $285. All right. Our next example is a word problem. It says Ward borrowed $1,500 from his bank for 60 days at a simple interest rate of 10.5%. So the question is, how much did he pay for the use of the money? Okay. Well, this right here can be answered by finding the interest. So interest is how much you pay for using the money. So we'll do our formula here, I equals PRT. So he borrowed $1,500 at a rate of 10.5%. Well, that's really 10.5%. And so we know that's 0.105 decimal form. Then 60 days, we can do 60 over 360. And this right here is going to give us how much he paid for the use of the money. So we'll do 1,500 times 0.105 times 60 divided by 360. And we get $26.25. Okay. Now, letter B says, what is the amount he paid to the bank on the date of maturity? So date of maturity is just when this is due. and this was after the 60 days after he borrowed it. So the amount paid is the same as that total amount that we talked about on the first slide. Okay, so the total amount is your principal plus your interest. So in this simple interest, we have to pay principal and interest on the maturity date. So in this case, the amount of the principal was $1,500 plus the $26.25 of interest. So the total amount he had to repay was $1,526.25. Okay, so just be very careful of what they're asking for. If it's how much did he pay, you're looking for interest. Okay, when you say what is the amount he paid on the date of maturity, that's going to be principal plus interest.